What's up, guys? Jeff Cavalier, AthleteX.com. Today I'm breaking out the shovel as we dig up one of the exercises that I threw in the iron graveyard a long time ago and see whether or not the objections that some have raised to this exercise and the fact that I threw it in there in the first place are valid, or whether we should be throwing a few more shovels of dirt on top of it by the time we're done with this. And what I want to do is address those objections and then tell you why we think the way we do here, okay? First of all, what are the objections? Well, the first concept is, what are we talking about with this exercise? Why do we have an objection to the exercise in the first place? Well, what I'm saying is this positioning here of your elbow in relation to your body is what's causing problems. The behind the neck variation of a shoulder press is not good. And what we really want to do instead is get our elbow not behind our body here, but in front of our body 30 to 40 degrees, so that when we press from here, we're actually working what we call the scapular plane. And there's a reason for that, because our anatomy is telling us to do this, while it's telling us to avoid this. So the objections come in rapid fire. Number one, Jeff, but I've been doing this exercise for so many years, and it certainly doesn't hurt when I do it, and it hasn't hurt me in all these years. That's the first one. The second objection, if I just lighten the weight and I don't do heavy weights during this exercise, and I increase my reps instead, then I'll be okay. The third objection, but Jeff, I've got the mobility in my shoulder to get back here safely and do this, therefore it's not a dangerous exercise. None of them are true. And I want to break it down by using the anatomy of the shoulder to prove what we're talking about. This right here, this is the socket for the ball of your shoulder. And the ball and socket obviously is what's going to determine how your shoulder moves. But more importantly, anatomically, this socket doesn't sit facing you guys like this. It actually angles forward 30 to 40 degrees. And the reason for that is because our shoulder blade, which the socket is attached to, actually angles forward 30 to 40 degrees. So if you want to have maximal congruency between the ball and the socket and have the shoulder move the way it's supposed to move, then your arm should be angled forward 30 to 40 degrees, so that now when I do my presses, I'm looking like this, as I showed you here, like that, and I'm not looking like this, where I'm trying to fight my anatomy. See, this here is basically a battle with my own internal setup of my shoulder joint. And we don't want to do that. And the objection of, but Jeff, it doesn't hurt my shoulder. Most shoulder injuries don't occur like that, where I raise up and ow, I just tore something. That's not how it goes. Your shoulder joint injuries mostly are chronic overuses, chronic breakdowns that over time start to rear their ugly head. So just because it doesn't hurt you on a single rep now doesn't mean that it's not going to eventually wind up breaking down on you in the future. And this is really about longevity. At least this channel is about longevity. It's having the results speak for themselves, but being able to continue to train for many, many years on end. Secondly, but Jeff, if I just lighten the weight here and do more reps, that's a better way to do this exercise, then it's not a problem. That doesn't make sense at all, because just increasing the number of reps that you do here, increasing the volume of times that you do this, is actually going to make it worse. Because when we have this issue set up here, where we bring our arm out of this congruency and back behind our body, with these altered mechanics at the joint, now you're starting to pinch structures that are inside this joint. You're starting to get potential rotator cuff tendonitis and inflammation and bursitis and all these things that happen from the compression, the impingement here in the shoulder joint. So adding a repetition on top of a repetition on top of a repetition of especially a shitty form rep after another, after another, after another, that's a problem. You're actually doing more damage by doing that. Thirdly, you say, but Jeff, I've got the flexibility or I've got the mobility to get behind my body and perform this exercise that way, so I'm okay to do this. That's not true. There's no circumstance where having this mobility to get back here is actually a good thing. What that's saying to me is you figured out a way to compensate and trick your body into thinking you had this mobility by probably, in this case, jeopardizing the anterior shoulder capsule to get back there. So just because you think it's good because you got back here doesn't mean that that's actually good. What it means is that you just took from somewhere else that you didn't want to take from in the first place to get back here, and now you've weakened a different part of your shoulder, which again in the long run is going to cause a problem. So do I want to keep this exercise in the iron graveyard? I do. I want to keep it there because it belongs there. There are certain things as bad exercises, despite what some people might say, and this is one of them. You don't want to fight your anatomy when you have better options. Take that dumbbell, press it for all it's worth, lift as heavy as you can. I'm for maximum overhead pressing and maximum dumbbell pressing overhead, but for God's sake, get your elbow in front of your body and press from there. You're not going to compromise your results, but you're going to maintain the integrity of the shoulder in the long term, and that's, again, what this is all about. So, guys, I hope that this breakdown was helpful for you. If you have any other questions about it or want me to cover other exercises, leave your comments and thumbs up below and let me know, and I'll do that in the future video. And in the meantime, you might start thinking, is this position bad all the time? There's behind the neck pull downs, there's pull-ups done behind the neck, there's even overhead tricep extensions done out of that position. Are they all bad? I'll cover those in future videos too, but I will say this, it depends on what you're doing. If I'm here and I got my elbows locked in place to then do the overhead dumbbell extension, the only joint that's actually moving at this point is the elbow. So this is not as bad, even though I'm in the same position, as it would be if I'm getting in this position here behind the body and then elevating the arm over and over and over and over again. Equally bad though if you've already got a problem and you're trying to push yourself back up in this position. It's just not a good place to be. So again, we'll cover that all in future videos. And if you're looking for a way to train safe, to train for longevity, but still don't compromise your gains in the process, then head to AthleanX.com and get our AthleanX training system. As a physical therapist, it all matters to me. It's not just about getting away with this. It's about having it make sense in the process. All right, guys, I'm back here again in just a few days.